Hey, how's it going guys? Matt here from the Toasty Bros. Do you all remember Junkrat? Junkrat was a $15 PC that I got off Craigslist and did a couple of gaming tests and upgrades to a few months back. If you haven't seen that video, hit the I in the top right corner to check that out. But in this video, we're going to be going into some more upgrades with Junkrat. I added a new processor and a new graphics card along with a different option for storage. So is this PC really capable at only $45 for playing games at medium to high settings at 1080p? Well, let's find out. So as I mentioned, I upgraded Junkrat from Junkrat 1.0 to 2.0. Now Junkrat 2.0 is rocking a Xeon X3360 2.8 GHz processor for only $30 off eBay, and I upgraded it from its Intel Core 2 Duo that was in the system beforehand. It also still has the same 4GB of DDR2 RAM, but now it has an XFX R7 260X graphics card, which is a pretty good mid-range graphics card, which I got for free. So this build, again, is not a build that I really recommend you go put together, more or less a test case of what I was able to create on such a budget. And also I had a spare OCZ Tryon 150 SSD, 240GB SSD lying around to throw into the build, and altogether this build will probably approximate to be around $75, but with money I have put out into this PC, it only ends up being a total of $45 because all I spent money on was the CPU itself. So how does this thing perform, you might ask? Well, we tested a couple of titles. We ran this PC through a couple of games, Shadow Mordor, CSGO, H1Z1, and Overwatch at all medium presets at 1080p. I wanted to be able to make a PC for a very cheap budget that could play games at 1080p at reasonable frame rates, and if you really wanted to get higher frame rates, could drop down the 720p to get more respectable frames. So without further ado, let's get right into the benchmarks. First up is Shadow of Mordor, where we got some very respectable frame rates at medium settings at 1080p. The average frame rate being about 55 FPS, the minimum around 43, and the max at 72. On to Counter-Strike Global Offensive, where we got an average FPS of 88 frames per second, a minimum of 60, and a maximum of 139. More than playable for Counter-Strike. I actually loaded up a competitive game and played some competitive play on that PC to test exactly how well it performs over a full competitive match, and it performed like a champ. This PC would work really well for people on a budget who want to get into competitive gaming like Counter-Strike Global Offensive. Another game that's on the rise is H1Z1, and I wanted to test that game out at medium settings at 1080p, and we got an average FPS of about 40, a minimum of 24, and a maximum of 66. Now this game I would really recommend you drop down to low settings if you're using a system similar to Junkrat 2.0, because it is very taxing on the CPU, which is an older quad-core chip. The CPU is pretty nice being a Xeon, and it does have a quad-core design, but it is lacking when it comes to clock speed. So that is one thing to keep in mind. If you lower it down to about low settings or a lower resolution, you could get a lot more comparable frame rates. Lastly is Overwatch, where we got an average FPS of 57, a minimum of 40, and a maximum of 74. This was all run at medium settings like all the other tests because I wanted to make a medium settings normal basis gaming PC at 1080p, and in Overwatch it did perform pretty admirably. There were some stutters, some slight hiccups to where I would probably drop it down to low settings if you want a more constant 60 FPS experience, but again, for $45, all the money I put into this PC was only $45. I believe we got a pretty comparable PC here that looks pretty nice. There are some upgrades I would make to this system. I would probably buy an aftermarket cooler because it is starting to overheat a little bit, and possibly spend a little bit more money on a motherboard that allow me to overclock this chip to get higher clock speeds, because at 2.8 GHz, the CPU is hindered in single-threaded performance and not being able to put out enough performance overall to get better frames in games. But overall, the reason why I opted for a Xeon instead of something like a Core 2 Quad was the price. A Core 2 Quad on the same socket type was around $75, but then this Xeon chip comes in at a total of only $30, and the performance is pretty comparable. If you want me to go pick up a Core 2 Quad processor and throw in here and see what kind of comparison we can get between the Xeon and the Core 2 Quad, leave a comment down below and leave a like, and I'll definitely consider doing that so we can see exactly how well these Xeon chips do perform compared to their Core 2 Quad other brother part. Yeah, well, let's go with that. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, leave a like down below and comment what you think. Be sure to check out all our social media and follow us on Twitter so you can get updates on future content and a little bit of teasers on certain things that will be coming out in the future. If you really like this style of video, comment down below and let me know, and be sure to hit that subscribe button to see more content from the Toasty Bros. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Peace out.